Alright, so we got JIRAIYA up here at the 12 o'clock. Now this is going to be a Zerg Terran versus Zerg Protoss. So JIRAIYA at the top and Rancor at the bottom versus Hisup here at the bottom as the red Zerg and Newblish at the top. So spawn positions, of course, can vary a lot on a map like this. You can have really close to your ally or really close to your opponent. And I don't know, like, if there's a racial advantage to one kind of spawn or the other. I have to wonder, like, maybe if some Protoss likes to go for cannons,
right?
You know, that could be better. I mean, I don't know. I think every race constellation here should have a pretty even chance on any kind of spawn.
Yeah, the mains are big on this map. To me, this map is kind of like the Gaia back in the day.
Yeah.
It plays very much like Gaia. It's a bigger map. It's, you know, close spawn positions. In this situation, it's kind of left versus right, so you kind of have an enemy neighbor next to you. But both Zergs here are going to spawn next to each other, and then the associated Terran and Protosses spawn next to each other. I think this type of game, it plays more into like longer, gets into mid-game kind of situations. Protoss is just so far from Rancor, that early pressure that you tend to see, PZ versus TZ, you know, it's a long distance to get there, so it just plays for longer games as a result, because you know, it's hard to kill somebody early. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. And if you ever try to 2v1, you can get countered by air so hard and so quickly when you have, you know, left versus right instead of top versus bottom.
Yep.
And I do believe this is a remake of Gaia, isn't it? So, like, at top, I mean, right middle and left middle, we should have, like, 3 and 9. We should have some expansions, right?
Yep, there's expansions there, and there's additional rams to get to those bases that also sort of tunnel into the other, the mains there.
That's actually a pretty big deal, because if you get a probe into your base, it can show so much. I mean, okay, there's already a little bit being revealed, because we see the choice being made here to put the second barracks as part of the wall instead of the first barracks. So, I mean, revealing 2 barracks, I mean, 2 rats is not really, like, unsurprising, but sometimes people will try to wall off and go fast gas, because Terran is so weak for Stimpack in this matchup.
So thanks very much for the tip there, Black Sun. Rooting for Rancor.
Nice.
I call that out. Nice, very nice.
Yeah, very nice indeed. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we don't see any aggression so far from either Zerg, like you were saying, going into longer games. I mean, it's so air biased in a position like this, right? Like, it's so anti-ground and so pro-air that you have to imagine people are going to go for lair before speed, which is what we're seeing indeed.
Yeah, my biggest nightmare as a Terran player on a map like this is like Reavers and Mutas.
Yeah, for sure. That's such a brutal 2v1 actually. Especially if you're going bio, which of course against, you know, Zerg Protoss you're going to. Against Zerg Terran, you're going to see a lot of, you know, Goliath and stuff, but in this matchup, bio is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, there's a debate about that, like what's better, bio or mech. I think it, you know, both styles can play very well. You just kind of have to know how to play them, but me personally, I like going bio.
It's definitely more popular, but you can get away with some mech. Alright, so we see a lot of, I mean, so we have a 2-gate, right, from the red team, 2-gate forge.
Yep.
And I guess they feel, yeah, so here we go, exactly, like, you gotta use it for something, right, so they're going for a containment, while they are expanding with their Zerg, so that's what's good about this containment right here. You know, basically making sure.
Yeah, Rancor is going 1 hatch here into lair. They're going to put some pressure onto him. He's got 2 sunkens here, so he should be okay against any early threat. At the same time, you got to think 1 hatch versus 2 hatch, you know, it's not going to be favorable for you as the game kind of goes. So this is kind of a tricky spot for Rancor, I would say. Him and his ally needs to play this smart, especially with Newblish here supporting his ally and getting that second base. So
yeah, and I mean, when you have a Terran like this, like Protoss could squeeze in a Reaver if the allied Zerg gets air superior, or even Dragoon Reaver, you can survive that way.
Yep.
And Zerg, of course, is the Mutalisks, but like Terran doesn't really have a way to just go kill somebody by air quickly as a counterattack for a long time, right? So that's a little bit scary for JIRAIYA and Rancor, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In a big map like this, you know, we can consider trying to kill somebody, but it's like by the time we get there, the story changes.
Yeah, and attacking into this with bio is just not happening, my friend. You know, like photon cannons are way too strong.
Yeah, yeah.
So at least one Overlord's gonna get killed with this slightly earlier Mutalisk timing from Rancor. But yeah, it is 1 hatch versus 2, so they're gonna have to do something at some point. Oh, and the Scourge chasing out the Mutas. Well, the Mutas got kill drones. I think they got 1 drone. Gonna go for all-out attack here.
The Scourge didn't hit perfectly. Okay. Looks like Hisup is gonna retreat
the Marine
for
shot
now.
just to help. So yeah, I mean, just leaving a group of bio here might be like what you have to do, to be honest. Like treating it like a missile turret, essentially.
Yeah, I remember playing this game with Rancor and thinking, wait, how are we gonna live against the Muta? I should probably send you some units.
Yeah, it's really scary because, like, first of all, obviously, you know, you're down a base, but also Protoss going for this like cannoning to tech style can counterattack with the Reaver at any point. Can 2v1 with the Reaver at any point if that's what he chooses to go for. We do see a Robo here in his ally's base, and he could even sneak in an expansion because if he gets photon cannons up at his expansion, Bio can't go for that either, right? Bio is just so weak to cannons.
Right.
So we see a scan now, not seeing the Robo because it was placed, you know, at his ally's base instead, which is a pretty smart move.
Right. Yeah, that scan didn't really tell much other than that you can't kill Protoss right now. So I'm kind of probably scratching my head a little bit based on the timing of where we are at this point. That to not see a Citadel makes me kind of wonder what's going on. Maybe there's tech at his ally's base. So still kind of thinking about what's going on, what Protoss is doing, while Rancor kind of builds up his numbers.
Yeah, this 2-gate Forge, it's such a good style. We're seeing it again this game. Oh, so Mito's Grassley getting a drone actually and escaping, so pretty good there by Rancor. Always good to snipe it when we can, but yeah, he's getting his own expansion up at this point. I don't know. I think maybe if you can prevent Protoss from expanding, at that point you could like get your own expansions and play it out. But I think if Protoss gets an expansion, that's going to be like just out of control. 2-base Protoss late game.
Absolutely. You know, one of the tough things to do is to send your army to your ally, not only to support him against Muta, but to just give him cover so that he doesn't die. It really spreads you out pretty thin, and as a result, it's hard for you to put more out onto the map, divide your numbers, and be able to put pressure on like the Protoss from like doing things like planting a Nexus and getting massive. Absolutely top priority not to let Protoss get big. So at this point, as I have enough, I feel more comfortable kind of getting out onto the map and looking for a fight.
Yeah, but unfortunately the cannon's already in time, so it's going to be a 2-base Protoss. This is not really breakable. Possibly a dropship from an elevator could be done because the mains are big, but of course the Reaver's going to come into play now too, which could counterattack, you know, at any point. Just go into the Terran main and kill everything. Okay, so we're gonna actually go for this. Yeah, okay, with the Mutalisks, you could actually 2v1 this. The Mutas tank very well. Alright, so knocking this down. I wonder what's up the ramp. I mean, you could even go on and get that, maybe? I'm not sure you should. So the red Muta's coming in now to defend, and at that point, I guess, you don't want to overcommit. So yeah, I think just knocking down the base is good at least. Because, I mean, not only did you prevent the expansion, but those 4 cannons cost a lot. Those could have been like 4 gateways, right? At the top of the map. But now that the Mutalisks for Rancor are gone, you see this Reaver trying to get cheeky to counterattack, but the Marines are there to block. Good reaction to it with Stim, so noticing immediately, trying to zone out the shuttle. Muta might be pretty good. I mean, I imagine we have to see Rancor Mutas return at some point. Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing on the mid-map, so they're coming down to defend now. But the Reaver's getting 1 drone, and denying a lot of mining time too. Getting the Spire would be like end of the game, probably, but here come the Mutalisks. And here comes the Scourge coming in. Flying over the Marines, picking up a few Scourge.
Hisup doing a really good job picking off that vessel before that vessel was able to cast any spells. Really good lands here from the Scourge.
Oh my days, what a save! That was so close, dude. I thought those Reavers would snipe that for sure. But yeah, picking off the vessel, of course, a huge move, but dude, saving the Spire, like, that would have been it right there. So, interestingly enough, you know, a lot of times what we see is like the Zerg kind of going for the supporting role with map control, but then Protoss carries. But we actually see Protoss supporting Zerg with the cannons, because Protoss really hasn't been in this game that much. He's got like, you know, a Reaver, he's got the cannons, but he doesn't actually have units, right?
Right.
So at this point, I have to say the strongest standing army is actually Terran, not Protoss.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Hisup is, you know, it puts more pressure on Hisup to have to do work with his 2-gas muta.
Yeah.
But as this game kind of goes, you know, with vessels mounting up, and my ally also on 2-gas, and his muta count mounting up, it's kind of set up well for
another 2v1 coming in here. And we do have a few Marines. I'm not sure we have enough though. Because the Reavers, of course, destroy the Marines immediately. But do we have more blue mutalisks? If so, this is fine. Oh, Irradiate. Oh, man, the blue battle. Huge. So is that enough? It looks like it is. It's almost hard to tell how many mutas there are. Reavers working on the lair while the mutas are fighting the mutas. But yeah, I think, okay, more Scourge coming in. Like, just so many Scourge all the time. Connecting even. Some Rancor Scourge coming in, connecting. Just fighting tooth and nail here. But at the same time, okay, we got a counterattack. Oh, dude, this timing. Damn, dude. This, I don't know if you scanned this, or if it was just game sense, but like continuously checking. Because remember what I said, like Protoss can sneak in that expansion, but he has to sneak it in. He can't actually make it for real without units. And just playing whack-a-mole with these expos over and over. So now, I mean, this Protoss, all he has is like a few Reavers. And having to cancel all those cannons, you can actually see Newblish is floating on cash at this point. Because he, of course, got the money back from canceling them. Oh, and this is what I love. When you leave one vessel at your ally, you're kind of like defending against mutalisks that way. It's a very good anti-muta tactic. But of course, the Reavers, I don't know, they're going to go to 2v1 again.
That's a lot of
and
Scourge.
at this point, we don't have any Marines on the ground, so... Scourge connecting, Irradiate, of course, helping, but it's just not enough. Well, actually, I think it is. Again, dude! Rancor's taken such a beating this game. He's gonna save the lair. One more Scarab.
This guy Rancor is pretty good.
Oh, dude, okay, you know what happened there? So, the Reaver didn't shoot the lair because he didn't have any Scarabs in him.
Oh,
so he couldn't target the unit. So then when the Scarab finished, it like chose its own target and it automatically chose the Marine. And I think maybe it could have gotten that lair actually. I didn't see how much health it had, but it's possible it could have gone out, which would have been huge, but...
yeah.
Anyway.
If you sneeze on either the lair or the spire right now, it would die. Let's just
Yeah,
put
it's
it that way.
But yeah, we do have at least a garrison of Marine and 2 vessels even, so you're really taking this seriously, man. And Protoss finally going for units instead of cannons, but I don't think this is enough. With the stim pack, his Marines should be able to take it, I think. Yeah, they're breaking through, so again, stomping this expo. And at this point, I mean, the blue team, Rancor and JIRAIYA, they're just ahead on basis, you know? Protoss never really getting his feet off the ground. Because those repeated 2v1 attempts, they just barely didn't work. Like, the Irradiate was there in time, the Marine reinforcements were there in time, the Micro was there, barely enough to keep him alive, and that's one way to carry games, you know? If you're always absorbing attacks and not dying 2v1,
exactly.
You're giving time to your ally.
Exactly. I love a Zerg ally who just won't die. They just don't have it in their DNA to die. They'll do whatever it takes. 1 hatch, mass sling, 5 sunkins, whatever it takes to just survive.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Micro
Those are the Zergs that I love.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't hit an expo at 3 o'clock, by the way. So is that a Protoss or a Zerg expo? Oh, sick ratings, by the way. One vessel goes down, but I mean, at this point, 2-base Terran, like, trading vessels for radiates like these, I don't even mind, man, honestly.
Yeah, it looks like that might even be a hatchery at the 3 o'clock position. I hope it's a Nexus, because he really needs some money here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a hatch. Oh no. So basically, we don't have a Protoss in this game at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this game, their strategy to really put pressure on Rancor, it was a good strategy. Oh, what's this Terran doing? Wake up.
Big ambush right here.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my days. I mean, this is just like bio in any matchup. If you ambush it, it just dies. Like a big play, you know, run up the lurkers, like storm it. So big ambush there. But
those Reavers. Pretty good unit.
Yeah, pretty good unit for sure. But you know, he doesn't have income, so he can't actually make Scarabs forever. Funnily enough.
I traded 5 Marines for a Scarab.
Yeah, but Finally trying to establish, okay, we got a BO3 Matrix. I mean, yeah, why not? Like, it's pretty good. So they're gonna win the Muta battle for sure, and of course Protoss doesn't have anything to assist here. He's got a few Dragoons that are isolated. And the Vessel support is just massive in these Muta versus Muta battles. For the Matrix and the Radiate, so this could be a dead Zerg main at this point. I don't know if you have a dropship, but that'd be pretty sick to ferry those Marines you have in. Oh, okay, big counterattack at the same time though. So this is something this Protoss can do while he has income enough to make Scarabs, and he does have that because he is mining moves now. But yeah, okay, so Matrix Mutalisk still slugging it out. Just too many, and denying this gas, just camping here. I mean, at this point, we have like a weakened Zerg with a bunch of Matrix Mutas in his base, and a Protoss who's barely establishing one base versus a Terran who could take a third if he wanted to at this point. Yeah, I think this is just too much. Now at this point, of course, if Protoss sends Dragoons to help this, he could easily die to a counterattack, so... We've got Terran units going out at the same time in the middle of the map. Leaving himself open to a counterattack, of course, but honestly, at this point, the main doesn't really have mining, so you don't really expect too much about a counterattack there. You can react all the time. Taking out the Spire is such a knockout move, too. Because I don't even think we have a Kuga, so Zerg basically can only make drones at this point. Hisup, that is. And yeah, this has to be the final push. So Weaver's coming in here. A tank to counter that, though. Decent Scarabs, but we have rushing the shuttle, not really getting it to get him on Weaver. And he could throw it down a second, yeah, GG.
GG.
So the opening was good with the cannons, right? Like they got the faster expansion, but then they just kept 2v1ing too hard. And then in order to like try to catch up, you know, the attempt to sneak in an Expo without having a Reaver of the cannons was just really risky. But if that hadn't been shut down, like every time, I think it was like 3 times in a row that was shut down. And any one of those times, if they had gone through, you could have actually won the game. Yeah. Because 2-base Protoss, like you have to understand, it's actually so disgusting into how strong it is.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of credit there to Rancor. Played like a monster. You got to think if his Spire goes down and/or his layer goes down, it's a different story. But like you said, you have 3 strikes, and 3 strikes and you're out.
I mean, he mined out. He kept trying to go for it, and he eventually mined out. So.
3 strikes and you're mined out.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we're ready for the next game. So yeah, loser's team is going to be able to pick a map here.
Alright, so we'll see what they pick. Let's get into it.
Okay, and yeah, they went for the Sparkle. Yep, they're those guys. So Sparkle, of course, is an island on the map with an extra in-base gas that only Zerg can take. So Zerg gets 3 gas, everyone else gets 2 only. And this is a kind of map where, like, if you're prepared for it, you have a massive advantage. It's kind of like knowing wrestling in a fight. Like, if your opponent has no wrestling defense and you are even like a decent wrestler, then no matter how good he is at striking, if you grab him, he's dead. And a map like this is a little bit similar. So hopefully both teams are ready for this. But of course the team that picked it at least has to be ready, right? So the question is, if the Terran Zerg team at the top of Rancor and JIRAIYA is going to be ready versus the Zerg Protoss of Hisup and Newblish at the bottom.
Yeah, this is definitely a ZP map, and we've said it here before, and we'll say it again. The reason why it's a ZP map is because Protoss is able to get up to Corsair very quickly. So in terms of air control associated with a Zerg who goes Muta air, that's why it favors well for PZ. But I've learned on this map, Sparkle, really fun map. It's a really fun map. It's a dynamic map. A lot of different ways you can play it. The way that I kind of see it is you can play really fast. You can play really fast kind of air. You can do double starport raid kind of situations. You can go fast drop Goliath kind of situations and pair that with a fast Muta ally. Or you can play it slow and you can do like a 14cc into maybe Valkyries or something like that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Where like the weakness of Terran in Series 2, even on ground maps, is that it takes a while to get going. Like if you're going mech, you gotta get your bolts out. If you're going by, you gotta get spin before you're weak. And it's a little bit similar here, where if you're going Valkyries, it's amazing if you can get them going. They just shit on everything. But it's the slowest air unit to get to out of the core units. Now if you go for keyboard Wraith, you have the cloak early, but they just get massacred by Corsairs later, so I don't feel like that's a long-term composition to be investing in. But at this point, neither player is expanding. I mean, no player's expanding. We have a fast Mutalisk for your ally.
Yep, so that's 9 pool layer from Rancor. That's going to be the fastest layer timing that you can do off of a 9 pool. And it looks like Hisup here is going to go for the overpool layer, which is going to be a tad bit slower, but a little bit more economically friendly. So we probably will see a quicker second hatch here from Hisup as a result.
Yeah, so he's taking that Zerg only gas right now.
Yep.
That's a bonus only Zerg gets. And yeah, so not a fast expansion by anyone, but like a moderately fast expansion by Hisup at the bottom right.
Yeah, and my ally Rancor, he's going to be droning up here. He's looking to get that Spire down as soon as that layer is down, and he's going to be looking to get a second hatch as well. It just won't be as fast as Hisup's, but his Spire will be faster. So that's kind of the trade-off there between the Zergs. And here in this spot, the Terran player is going for the 2-fact, so that probably will be a Starport kind of build, and Protoss is going for the Stargate.
2-fact. So this means we have a commitment to drops, obviously, right? Now, like the main thing as Terran is, are you going to drop or are you going to fly around with air units? And we do have a drop right now. Whereas Protoss has not gone for drops, but has gone for 2-gate Corsair, I have to imagine. Scouts take a long time to get going, just like Valks, because they're only strong once you have speed, and speed requires a fleet beacon. Before then, they just die to Scourge, so rushing Scouts when there's a Zerg in between is not really viable, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, part of the advantage of Protoss on this map is making those Corsairs quickly and then piling them up as you recognize that the other Zerg is sticking to air. Corsairs are obviously going to be well, so... you know, Fleet Beacon I think costs like $300. That's a lot of money. There's no real fit for that.
And then the speed is expensive too at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But one thing we have to keep in mind now is that Protoss is going for Corsairs, and we do have a Terran user here going for drops. And on a map like this, it's really huge. Like we saw this so much in ASL, where like Terran would go air and Zerg would go Hydra Lurker drops. If you can sneak past the air units and find the weakness and get a drop off, it's just over it. Especially with Corsairs, right? Because they don't even shoot it down. So. I like this barracks, by the way, because, I mean, this Corsair would have a field day if not for the Marine here, so that's pretty baller, actually.
So, Rancor, my ally, aka the Shepherd, he actually taught me this. He said, hey, I have an idea. JIRAIYA, why don't you give me your barrack? Why don't you help me with this early Corsair thing? Now, he does lose an OV here.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. It's not the most effective idea. I definitely could have done a better job here, but it was an interesting creative thought that I actually did not, it was not originated by me. Rancor actually gave me the ideas.
Very good. It did save one overwork though. Okay, so here's the first dropship. Now here's what I was talking about. Like, if this dropship drops into Protoss, we have a cannon. He seems to know that this is a factor, but I don't think that cannon's early enough. And like, it's not easy to catch a dropship like this, because even if you're looking for it, you don't know what path it's going to take. And at this point, the Mutant is going to show up, but the Allied are there too, so basically 2v1, because the Corsairs don't really help in this situation. They can't hit the Mutalisks, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of an awkward situation right now. As the cannon's
finished.
The
cannon does finish, though.
Get back. Yep. Now,
so at this point, they're safe. Yep.
Yeah, just looking to trade against the Muta at this point. Rancor's just trying to save what he has over there. Obviously, this drop did not achieve what we were looking to achieve, and typically you want to have 4 Goliaths in a drop.
Yeah.
This Terran player just doesn't know the right build. Maybe those Marines costed him, but in any case, 3 is not the number you're looking for.
Okay, and we have another sneaky dropship here. I was just thinking, like, maybe you want to like put some Goliaths in your allies' base because he's going to get supply blocked or control blocked, but instead we have this sneaky counterattack, and this could be huge. I mean, so again, we have the red team, Hisup and Newblish, trying to like patrol the middle, looking for this, but it's just so hard to catch. So another attack goes through, killing a few drones. Scourge trying to chase on the Mutas, no connection so far. And okay, catching Corsairs could be huge. 1, 2, okay.
Nice.
And I think the dropship got away, so that's a really big deal. The dropship, lives to ferry another day. But I'm a little bit scared for like a 2v1 on the blue Zerg Rancor right here, because If he loses Overlords, that's a knockout move right there, and we don't see any Goliaths here, as the Goliaths have been used to go for these kind of costly sneak attacks instead.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, he's gonna die now, and he's caught out of position, 2v1, gonna go for a desperate counterattack, but there are 2 cannons in the Protoss main, so I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Okay, they're gonna get taken out by the Mutalisks. 2 drops just following up with the Goliaths. So we have a base trade here for sure. And I don't know what to focus on here. Like, I guess you try to kill as many probes as you can. The Dragoons, though. Okay, so they're gonna buy a lot of time if they want to go save this. But it looks like they're not really going for that. Instead, we do have a commitment to the base trade here. Also, if these cannons go up, that could be huge.
Right.
Looks like they're gonna get scouted here by 2 Mutalisks. And yeah, I mean, that cannot be tolerated. So the Corsairs coming home to defend, but there are Goliaths there, and the Goliaths cannot really be dealt with by Corsairs. So at this point, what are you thinking as Hisup here? I mean, you don't really want to play out a... I guess you can play out a 1v1, because Zerg on this map isn't really the same as Zerg on others. Like, you could take your third and play a macro game, but these cannons have finished, and that means it's not actually a 2... I mean, it's a 2v1 in the other direction, eventually, where Hisup and Newblish, the red ones, they do actually own catch in the dropship, yeah. Huge. Although he doesn't... Okay. Alright, there we go. Kind of catching it. Finally.
Yeah, so those Goliaths are going to be able to range some of those probes, the majority of those probes. So the idea here is to try to weaken Protoss and keep him weakened as much as possible. Hisup here trying to trade against these Goliaths.
Okay, so the position has held, and for now, if you hold this high ground, it's not a 2v1, it's a 1v1. But the problem is, if you're trying to hold, like, you gotta defend your own base as Terran here, but you also gotta defend this position so that Protoss can't get back in the game.
Exactly.
While Zerg is getting Mutalisks, so eventually the Zerg can choose to either go for the Terran main or save his ally, because Terran, like the Goliath user, has to spread out, and the Zerg doesn't.
Right.
So I don't really see this holding forever. Okay, so we do have a bit of a renaissance here. Only 1 sport though, so I don't think, yeah, that's gonna get shut down. Just playing whack-a-mole here.
Yeah, it's worth noting, Rancor was left with 500 minerals when they basically killed him, and he retained his Spire. So that entire time when I was dropping Protoss, he was building up what he can, Spore, etc., etc. So I wouldn't count Rancor out just yet, and definitely doing what he can, but at this point, there's not much he can do without support.
This is a big deal, though, because at this point, like I was saying, how you have to hold 2 positions, right? Your main and the Protoss base. Okay, and we have some good reinforcements here, actually. So I guess you're not hold 3 positions, but kind of pulling it off so far. But anyway, the thing is, okay, it's a good thing these are empty, because that's a... No? Okay, he wasn't looking.
Perfectly still,
okay, there we
they
go.
Can't see you.
Alright, so he's gonna catch these, luckily empty. But as I was saying, like, if you have to hold 2 positions and Zerg can like mass Mutalisk and go take up 1 position, it doesn't really work as easily when there's a 3rd position he has to control to, because he's gonna have to go check on Rancor. Because if he leaves Rancor alone, Rancor gets back, which means you can hold this position more easily. So we're just coming in here to try to clean up. Do we have enough? No, we don't even have enough, and Rancor's 1 Muta going in even to help. And at this point, I mean, you have expanded, so it's kind of looking 2v1 at this point. A little bit, because I do feel that Rancor is more in the game than Newblish. Whenever Rancor is left alone, he just sneaks in some drones, and if he can sneak in like 3 spores, he's actually safe for real. Especially with these Goliaths you put there, you know.
Right, and you know, the decision from Rancor to basically sacrifice himself and say, hey, I'm dead here, but I have this army, let's do what we can and hit Protoss, that decision from Rancor was really what got us into this position.
That secured this high ground position right here. That's been holding for so long. It's only now is getting cleaned up. But the only reason this is getting cleaned up is because you chose to put Goliaths as Rancor's top right instead of this.
Yep.
And that, of course, means he's back in the game. So, I mean, I guess both players are back now. Like, we're back to a 2v2 at this point. Because, you know, Newblish has his main back. And, oh, did you not take out the Nexus? So, he actually... yeah, okay, so we actually have 2 with Protoss. Now, obviously, taking that out would have been sweet, but it's not that easy to do, because you would have to... I mean, you could have done it with all the Goliaths, but then that gives him mining at the natural, and if you send 1, it gets picked off, so not really an easy call there. Anyway, huge Rancor sneaking by, getting scouted by the Overlord. But this might be too many, actually. I don't think that's enough Mutalisks. Well, we don't have Goliaths in every dropship, so it could be enough. Especially with the drones at the same time. Yeah, okay, if those all of them full, this might have been a killing blow, but as it is, not really gonna kill. A few drones going down, though, weakening an already suffering Zerg economy.
Yeah,
I did
nice
see like 2 or 3
from
drones.
Hisup.
Alright, so Protoss is back to Corsairs, and I don't know, I mean, I feel like if you have Goliaths, it might be a good idea to take an island base, because what you could do is like get turrets there, right? I don't know if you have to look to the future, because like Corsairs are good at fighting units, but they don't shoot down, so if you take island base, they become useless eventually. Right. So that might be like the future plan for the Zerg Terran team here. Second starport going up. Now this could be for Valkyries. Valkyries are pretty good, or it could be just to make dropships, I'm not sure. We have an expansion, by the way, at the middle, top middle. So I imagine there has to be a command center. Yeah, right, exactly. If you actually sneak up some turrets there, this is not going to happen. Okay, no, I thought it was going to get caught, but if you do that, it's like actually really huge. Then it costs a lot to take out.
Right.
And we only have Corsairs for Protoss still, I have to imagine. So expansion gets found. Yeah, he's still is making Corsairs. If you want to continue going air, at some point you have to actually go into, I know it sounds crazy, but either Sneak Scouts or Carrier Corsair are like your main options. And for Zerg, we might actually see some Ensnare eventually at this point.
Yeah, Ensnare plays well, Greater Spire plays well, especially with Zerg getting that 3 gas accessibility. You can play things like Hive Tech, Spire.
Yeah, we have a third base being taken by Hisup, the Red Zerg. And not really the same from Rancor. Rancor's still taking a beating, so he seems to be a little bit behind in drones and stuff. 4 Goliaths, not really enough, so raiding the space again. Might even take out the, okay, pretty good snipe there with the skirt connections, but this hatchery might even get taken out. A third base coming up for Terran, which will be securable. If you just drop some Goliaths there and put some turrets up, you're gonna have it, but I'm feeling a little 2v1 at this point, unfortunately. Okay, so trying to drop Protoss, but getting intercepted here. So forced to drop in the middle, and taking out actually a few of those units. But at any point, if you leave this alone, you could just go drop, but they're not going to do it now. They're probably going to be circling this. So since your Goliaths are basically stuck here, I'm wondering if you're going to send the command center at this point, down here.
Right.
Possibly take this, since you can kind of like defend and threaten an attack at the same time.
Yeah, I find it on 2 base on this map. You end up, you can't spend your minerals. It's real tough because it's gas limited, and you have like a lot of FPVs, so it's worth making those CCs.
Oh, catching that dropship.
Ooh,
huge.
Nice catch.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, if you can ever start spamming turrets at an expo, it's really good, because you're gonna be floating minerals, like you said. Goliath the dropship, you don't have enough gas. You're gonna have a mineral bank. So missile turrets really are the way to, and command centers, of course, the way to equalize that.
Right.
So still only Corsairs for Protoss, and I mean, they definitely have air superiority, but like, if Terran ever lands on a base and fortifies it, it's just gonna be held forever.
Yeah, I think they have the right idea, using the map to their advantage. It gets tricky when Terran is going dropships, when there's a ton of air things on the map, Scourge, Corsairs, and Mutas alike. So I think the idea is right, because it makes it harder for Terran to be offensive. So
yeah, for sure, it's definitely good in this position too, because the blue Zerg Rancor is so weak right now. He's been taking such a beating that it's basically just against Terran, right? And a Terran with dropships and Goliaths only has to spread himself out, and then you can just send all your Mutalisks and Corsairs against Mutalisks to one point. So we're gonna need like a ton of turrets to stop that, and possibly even Valkyries if you go into that. Although yes, we have the first Valk now, getting taken out unfortunately. But if you can get like 8-10 Valks, you're just gonna shit on all of these Corsairs and Mutas, and that I think has to be the win condition. So we have actually double expansions going up for Terran. And again, if those get fortified with turrets, it almost doesn't matter how weak the Zerg ally is, because Terran could just 1v2 at this point, if he can keep these bases. And I don't think this one's going to be able to be kept. We're going to need to see some reinforcements here. This is what I was talking about, where, I mean, this even happens in 1v1, right? Where Terran going mech gets isolated, picked off.
Right.
So this base unfortunately gonna fall. We have 2 starports though, so I don't know if you're still trying to go for Valkyries, but if you could get that, that could be your salvation. Main base mining out, so no longer really floating on minerals, so we can't really go for the turret spam anymore.
Right. Yeah, and at this point of the game, to transition into Valks, non-upgraded against upgraded units.
Right, +2 carries to units, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. So, interestingly enough, we're actually seeing a Zerg carry. We don't usually see that in TV2, but
Right, exactly.
I have to say that Hisup is the carry here with his 4 gases, by the way, which is insane. And then the Protoss Corsairs are basically just there to make sure that Zerg is air superior against the other weakened Zerg, so that Hisup can dominate the Terran with Mutalisks. But the base miraculously was held, actually, and we have a counterattack here. And a lot of these red Mutalisks, they died, so if we have enough Goliaths on the ground, the Corsairs can't really help. Just insane. If you're gonna make this comeback good, we have 1 Sunken. Sunken's of course extremely strong against Goliaths, but we still have an exposed expansion to the left. You could go raid, possibly. And the gas expansion, of course, also. Okay, does Goliaths need to back off? Being a little bit spread out here. At the very least, this attack is buying time for the expansion to get fortified. And a big raid at the bottom here, killing all the drones with the Mutalisks. I can't believe this 1 base Zerg is finding ways to be useful. That's so huge, actually.
Yeah,
Killing
it's
drones.
definitely worth noting the amount of value that Rancor is able to get with the units that he has producing off of 1 base is definitely a huge factor here in making these drops effective.
Yeah, when you feel like you are the stronger Zerg, you have 4 gas, you're dominating air to air, you know, you got your Protoss buddy to make sure you never lose a fight. It makes you so confident you don't get spores, and that leaves you vulnerable to these raids.
Right.
Like if you have a drop you're trying to catch, right, full of Goliaths, then you're not defending your base, and then the 1 base Zerg comes in and kills all your drones.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's so imperative on this map to be really coordinated with your ally, because I think more so, like it's acutely more so on this map because there's so much risk when you're making these moves that it needs to be coordinated in order for it to be effective.
Yeah, and that coordination, of course, can take the form of 2v1ing, or sending your ally first to like lead the enemy so they chase him and then you go in.
And
but we have carriers coming in, and if you get enough carriers, they're pretty good, especially against yeah, against a meching Terran going Goliaths. That's almost like a win condition. So getting this attack here, I hope we have enough Goliaths, or I don't know how many Mutalisks we have, but we did weaken the Red Zerg a bit. Photon cannons being a bit of an issue though. But yeah, attacking before critical mass carriers definitely a big deal, and I think this might be it. We don't see a response from Hisup. I'm not sure he has enough. Okay, he's counterattacking, that's why, but at this point I have to say that Hisup's counterattack is not as deadly as this massive death ball right here taking out everything.
Yeah, we elected for the 2 versus 1 option. Again, my ally Rancor said, you know what?
Again, yeah, just
I'm
take
dead.
it.
Here's my army.
Yeah, we saw that before with the first attempt where you were able to establish the Goliaths on the high ground over the natural and clean sweep 1 for a while. He sacrificed himself, and again, same maneuver, like, I'm just gonna lose stuff, but we have this 1 attack we need to go for. And totally the right call at this point, because you cannot let carriers get out of control. It's just not an option.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who knows what would happen a minute, 2 minutes if that attack was somewhere else, or maybe defensive.
Okay, this is a little bit scary. Alright, so trying to fortify that base, getting zoned out by the Red Mutalisks. I mean, if Goliaths land there, that's like pretty doomish for the red team, because we don't really have a Protoss. So I would say at this point, with the standing Mutalisk of Rancor, it's actually 2-1, and the lost attack here, that has to be GG.
GG.